always was that active when defenders, I think, it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. Showtime, just as Ian Wright has said there. People deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Of course, in some cases, good night, depending on where you lot are tuned in from. Smash the like button, comment any opinions, challenge my opinions, comment your opinions in relation to the Liverpool game. I know Arsenal fans, hopefully 2024 at Anfield is a lot more positive than obviously yesterday was. And it's a weird one. We're going to get into it, but it's a weird one. Like, I don't know how I feel, if I'm honest with you, because on one hand, I think we're undefeated in the top 6 games or the bigger games. We ain't lost to Liverpool. We got a point at Anfield. We beat Manchester City. We beat United. We drew against Chelsea. We obviously drew against Spurs. And I would also, obviously, they're not traditional. These teams are not necessarily traditional top 4, top 6 sides. But when you throw in the Aston Villa's form and when you throw in Newcastle's form, I do think regardless of the results, there's games we've actually, I actually feel Aston Villa, how we played in that game, we played a lot better than sometimes we've actually won. As you don't know where football is, it's a weird one. Sometimes you deserve to lose and you don't. Sometimes you deserve to win and you don't. Sometimes you don't even deserve a point and you get it. But football's weird. So yeah, man, ultimately we stay unbeaten in top 6 games. Klopp has a good record against Arsenal in general, not at Wembley though, and has a fantastic record against us at Anfield. He hasn't lost to us since he's been there, gaffer, really and truly. I'm sure he'll be frustrated with his team because they dropped 2 points. Second half, I think Arsenal were kind of there for the taking and whatnot. But before we get into it, as I was saying, I don't know how I kind of feel. Big up you lot, smash the like button. I don't know how I feel about the game, and what I mean about that is before we get into the nuts and bolts of the game, just generally, because as I alluded to, we have been unbeaten against the top 6 kind of sides, but it's them kind of games where I'm left wanting a bit more. Like there was many positives. We were competitive against Liverpool, backs against the wall. We was there. Both teams did have chances they could have taken. Statistically, it was quite even. But for me, and I wrote some notes before we get into it, I'll take a point. Man City done our thing. United, we did our thing. Spurs and Chelsea, we shot ourselves in the foot. Newcastle and Villa, I think the performances were there, but ultimately we didn't do enough to win the games. Like, we didn't put the ball in the back and we didn't create anything against Newcastle, and we didn't, for all the pressure and half chances, we didn't convert against Aston Villa. That's the level I want to see us go up. I think there's positives, but I think we should have beat Spurs. We should have beat Chelsea. We should have probably held on against Fulham. You can't win them all, but one you're left wondering. And I know it's Anfield and Liverpool and all of those sort of things, but for me personally, fundamentally, I think it's 2 points dropped for both teams. I think they would have taken a point. I think both teams could have probably been a bit more efficient in the final third. I would have taken a point, but fundamentally, it's points dropped from a winning position once again. Much like, as I said, Chelsea, well, not Chelsea, actually, Spurs, and obviously the game we're talking about in relation to Liverpool. So I think there's many levels to go. One positive is I only think this season we've been outplayed once. Now, obviously, we picked up points. That's not me saying Arsenal is the biggest and baddest and the super team and all of that. I think there is consistency. There is a bit more grit and determination. There is some positives. The only time I think we've been outplayed is in the League Cup. There's no positives from Arsenal when we went out to West Ham, and we've got them midweek. Revenge needs to be on the menu, if I'm completely honest with you guys. But it's a weird one, man. We dropped points from a winning position. Obviously, that disappoints me in relation to the Liverpool game. I think both Jurgen Klopp and Mikel Arteta probably would want their players to have, be more effective in the final third, because David Raya and Alisson, they didn't put a foot wrong and they've conceded. But considering the team, the quality both teams have and their form and stuff, I do think there should have been more goals. I do think we could have created. There was 5 shots on target in the game. For a team like Liverpool and Arsenal, it's unacceptable, really. We had 2 shots on target. They had 3. They had 51% of the ball to 49. We had 5 corners. They had 4. Both teams had 13 shots, so it was quite even, if I'm completely honest with you. Obviously, as an Arsenal fan, you're at Anfield, it's under the lights, it's crazy and things like that. So yeah, I think in brief, for me anyways, I think post-match reaction thoughts extended. I think I've got notes in front of me, both teams were lacking quality in the final third. Yeah, Trent hit the bar, Salah might have been able to do something, I'm pretty sure everybody had their hearts in their mouths. I might have alluded to it, but like I think it was when Zinchenko somehow taken out Odegaard, Liverpool have counter-attacked. It's Declan Rice versus the world, and I think everybody's expecting the scoreline to change. Fortunately, it didn't. Timber's prayers are working for this team. Both teams struggle to create, both teams lack quality in the final third. Both teams struggle to create quality chances. I think we had to absorb a lot more pressure longer than Mikel Arteta would have liked. Obviously, you're playing Liverpool and it's a big game. There's going to be moments, but I just feel we was under the cosh a bit too long. And I think a big byproduct of that is, the Liverpool hype and all of that sort of jazz. But I don't think our ball retention and our passing was quality. We weren't looking after the ball. When you play in games like this, you're not going to shut the crowd up. As much as you could do is perform well, which I think we did, and kind of quiet them down. And I think that could have been done by keeping the ball. And I think that's where maybe a target man could help, maybe a press resistance number 8. I don't think we had enough care on the ball generally when we're trying to string passes together, and evidently in the final third. It's dumb and goals happen at any times, and maybe of recent it's changed, but this season Arsenal haven't been notoriously fast starters. It felt a bit watching the game again that when we took the lead, I feel the first 15 minutes from Arsenal, we started very well. But it's like, I don't think we expected to concede when we did. And we didn't know whether to stick or twist. It was almost like we knew, you know what, Liverpool are going to fight back. Should we just be easy and keep our shape, or do we keep doing what we're doing? And I think both teams kind of had that as well. I have to shout out the centre-back pairing, Gabriel and Saliba. Big up Saliba. I think Gabriel would be the man of the match for me if anyone is going to be given that. Gabriel, Saliba, colossal. Benjamin White, unlike Zinchenko, you stood up tall. I actually think Kai Havertz and Jesus were good. Now, quality on the ball and what they're paid to do, of course not. But in terms of mucking in fouls and all of that stuff, great. I think Saka was busy, but the quality was missing. Martinelli, I think you was busy, but boy, quality was missing, and you was worse than than Saka, in my opinion. So we struggled with that. What else would I say as well? Zinchenko. Now at this point, I'm exhausted. I don't advocate making Zinchenko a scapegoat, public enemy number 1, etc. But we know what he is. He's a fullback by convenience versus design. Mikel Arteta and all them guys at City made him a fullback. I think a lot of that is down to his versatility and things like that. But he was never getting into that Manchester City midfield. He doesn't think like a defender. He's played enough games. He's played for City, plays for Arsenal. He's played enough games at left back to know, but he does not think like a defender first. And you're going to see this several times. We saw it against West Ham in the League Cup. We saw it against Fulham. We saw it against Liverpool this year and last year. Again, I'm at the point of acceptance with that. My problem for Zinchenko evidently would be Trent is a better fullback, but I think you're similar players in that. Trent, I do think people do too much about Trent's defensive skills, but Trent is never going to be anything to scream and shout about defensively. But what he gives you when he inverts and creates, like you saw yesterday, that's great. I never saw none of that from Zinchenko, really and truly. I still think he's improved a lot defensively, but the better this team gets, especially around creativity, there's going to be less of a need for Zinchenko to invert. I think there's certain conditions for him to play respectfully. Anfield's not one of them. When the sun's shining at the Emirates, we're having a lot of possession. I think that is for Zinchenko. And he doesn't think like a natural defender, people. Like, coincidentally, this has nothing to do with Liverpool. I was just on the website, just going through my own notes. Zinchenko's problem is this, like, obviously Salah's out there. Now, as a fullback, don't get it twisted. You can't always be tight. Salah's going to go past you. And naturally, you can't drop off and invite pressure. But Zinchenko's problem is he stays in position well, but when he gets out there, he's flat-footed. He doesn't think like a defender. He doesn't know when to show someone down the line, when to show them inside. And obviously, it's a fantastic ball from Trent. And Salah showed his magic as well, if I'm completely honest with you. And now I can't tell a Premier League footballer anything. But for me, watching that goal, again, just putting the ball here. And again, it's obviously not going to be to scale, folks. I think Salah has to be shown down the line. Let him put a cross in or earn a corner. You know he wants to play on his left foot. You've been caught flat-footed. Your body position is terrible. And you've been done there, really. If I'm honest, Gabriel was good. I think you could have done better there. But it starts and stops with Zinchenko. And teams target him. They target him against Chelsea. Yeah, he got pulled off after, to be fair, the year before, this season at Chelsea, he had a great game at Stamford Bridge, actually. But this season, he got pulled off. And I'm not really like, I accept Zinchenko for what he is now. Like, we shouldn't be in this scenario, really, if I'm completely honest with you. I love the gaffer and what he's doing, and I know Timber's injured, Tomiyasu's injured and stuff, but this is why you need stronger 1v1 defenders. It'd have been lovely to have an Ake or someone of that ilk available, man. Happy Christmas in advance to everyone, and Merry Christmas Eve, man. Zinni could have tried to play Salah off with the rest of the defenders. Big up overtime, DG. Allowing Salah to cut inside is criminal. I hear it, but that's not the first or the last time, Salah's going to cook a lot of players. Salah cooks people for fun. You just made it too easy for him. As I said, the man has a lot to do at that point. And it's easier said than done. But for me, Zinchenko doesn't think like a defender first and foremost. He doesn't. When Mikel Arteta speaks about Tomiyasu and all these guys playing as a fullback, or even they're in the final third, look at the language Arteta says. He says a defender's job first and foremost is to defend. When he speaks of Zinchenko, he says he's playing in midfield already. He doesn't talk about his defensive strengths at all. That's because he doesn't have none at all, really and truly. I like Zinchenko, but it's like Esther said here, he needs to be a squad player, really. We need to take Zinni out of defense. He needs to be in the middle. I hear it, but my one thing would be, why has there been a reluctance to play Zinchenko in midfield at Manchester City and obviously at Arsenal? Now, obviously at City, you've got Kevins and the Gundogan and the Rodris. You're going to struggle. Bernardo and Grealish can all play in midfield. Foden, you're going to struggle. But why is there a reluctance? There has to be something in Zinchenko's game that is it's stopping Mikel Arteta from playing him there. And even to be honest with you, yeah, Zinchenko's strengths, he's probably better in the final third, but at the same time, you can't go walk about at fullback. You definitely can't do that in the middle of the park, really and truly. Was gonna say Chelsea getting done by Wolves, but see, guys have beat me to it. I didn't even know Chelsea were in the mud. Big up you lot in the chat, man. Graham, American Gooner, I hope you're doing well and safe, man. No days off, man. He can't control the ball and dribbles in blind alleys. He's speaking about there. Big up my guy James, man. I need to get you back on the platform still. So yeah, man. There's nothing wrong with Salah. Like on the grand scheme of things, you know. Again, like the Salah getting past you, bro. He does that. Like Zinchenko's not gonna be the first or the last person that happens to. But it's just you're never quite convinced. And I don't think Zinchenko is a bad player. I don't think he's not a good player and whatnot. But when you look at Arsenal's team, whether everybody's fit and you name the strongest 11, or you sit there, you sit there and you thingy and you name the strongest 11 you can of the players that are fit now. Like, again, I know Kai Havertz can't play against West Ham because he's suspended, but just assuming everybody who started in the Liverpool game, realistically, what is the one weak spot? Not even a weak spot. Who's the one you're going to target? You're going to target Zinchenko. You're going to pop it over his head. You're going to ask questions of him 1v1. You know, if you're good on the transition, you know, it's a give. Life is about give and take. He goes into midfield. I know Gabriel covers, but Gabriel isn't Superman as much as he was yesterday. There's going to be space. Zinchenko, people smell food with you. Like, you look like a victim, if I'm honest in that regards. He's not good in the air. He's not strong 1v1, not switched on, don't think like a defender. Sometimes I think he overplays and whatnot. And this ain't me attacking Zinchenko. I like the guy. If anything, I'm defending him. But end of the day, that's it really. You know, Tomiyasu locked him up, but we've also seen Tommy get cooked. Zinni didn't get cooked. It's just he can't tackle properly and track his runner, which you can't be doing in the Prem. There you have it. Like, he didn't get butchered. And ultimately, you know, it was only one action really and truly, you know, but that action made the difference. But so it's an improvement in that regards, but you sign up for these things. This is what I mean when I say we sign up for things. When Zinchenko is your key left back, you know that he's going to cost you in games like this. When you haven't got enough depth in certain areas like in midfield, you sign up for certain things. When you haven't got a proper target man or a clinical goal scorer, you sign up for certain things. This is where we're at as the squad, man. Question from that tape, DG, why not Zinni left 8 row with Tini at left back? It's mind-boggling. I think if Tini wanted to stay at the club, Tini would be at the club. And I'm not criticizing Tini. I think Tini just sat there and said, you know what, Gaffer, you know, in terms of the inverted, right at the point of when he left, it looked like Kirill was doing all right in that role in pre-season and whatnot. Obviously, Zinni's there. Tomiyasu's been ahead of him and you signed him. But I think Tini said, you know what, Gaffer, I love being here. I love playing under you. But I'm not really on getting these Kirill minutes, these Cedric minutes of things. I want to go somewhere I'm more likely to play week in, week out. And maybe play as a natural left back. Would I have loved to have had Tini at Anfield? 100%. Would I have loved to have had Tini in the squad, whether it's to see out games and things like that? 1,000,000%. I still think there was a role for him, but yeah. Smith Rowe to score against West Ham. Arteta will play him for 5 minutes. I'll be surprised if he plays in brackets. Good questions, though. Keep them covered, man. Martinelli needs to work on his decision-making and not just dribble like a headless chicken. I love Martinelli, but that's the one frustrating thing. Get your head up, man. Like, ultimately, you know, sometimes goals and assists don't do players justice, innit? Like, you could score bare goals and not be good. You could be someone like Grealish, who's a good player, could get more goals, but not known for that. But ultimately, you're going to live or die by goals. And that's the one time Martinelli hasn't turned up against Liverpool. He's just running into blind alleys, overplaying it. For me, not shielding the ball well enough. Like, even a couple of actions when Trossard's come off the bench and he's indirectly running at Konate, shielding the ball, inviting a foul. Even Eddie come off the bench and done that. It's them kind of things we need to work on, really. Hey, DG, good point yesterday based on the performance. Got lucky with VAR. But hey, I'm not going to lie. I didn't see it. Arsene Wenger settings, I didn't see it. But from what you lot say, I think Martin Odegaard's a lucky boy, or those saying that apparently the rules say if you're using your hand as balance, there's nothing, pardon me, there's nothing you can do. They owe us that, man. They owe us that. It's been a good couple of weeks, isn't it? Mikel Arteta beat the case for the PGMOL thing. You know, a VAR decision didn't go our way. I just think ultimately, you know, we invited too much pressure from Liverpool. That goal was coming. I think the first 10, 15 odd minutes were brilliant from us. And then it's like we didn't know whether to stick or twist, as I said. It's like we didn't expect to score that early. And we didn't know whether we should, you know, keep playing our game, doing our thing, or somewhat be respectful. It looked like we was in two minds. I don't think there was enough protection on the ball. Again, it's always the players that are not involved that would waffle about, but 100%, it would have been lovely to have Timber. You know, you see the difference Saliba makes at Anfield, but it would have been lovely to have Timber, Tomiyasu. I'd actually say Thomas Partey as well. Like, obviously, Partey's had stinkers like everyone, but if there's one criticism of Declan Rice, not even the criticism, just to go to the next level, because Declan Rice is absolute mustard as he was yesterday. And, you know, again, I say it all the time, we need to apologize to West Ham fans. They've been telling us no one was taking them in. But I'd say if there was one criticism, I need you to pass the ball forward slightly more. Like, there's a bit too much sideways passes, and that's where I probably wanted Thomas Partey. Do you think Martinelli's performance this season is poor form or something tactical? Could probably be a bunch of everything. I just think ultimately you've lost your goal scoring touch at the moment. If I'm honest with you, I'd still think there's games Martinelli's played very well, but goals or assists, and Martinelli hasn't got a strong catalogue of being someone that gets goals and assists. That's why I said in August, it will surprise me, but it won't surprise me if Odegaard and Martinelli do that. That's the challenge. Can you keep doing it? The only one I bet on for scoring goals at Arsenal and someone who is still developing that is Bukayo Saka, because we've seen it the last 2-3 years. He's getting double numbers. Martinelli and Odegaard announced themselves to that. We love Gabriel Jesus. He's not a bagsman like that. Eddie will, you know, go on a run and get some decent goals, but he's not that. So, yeah, man, it's obviously, it probably does. I do think I needed a bit more from the left. I do think Martinelli was a busybody. I do think Kai Havertz played all right as well. I think Zinchenko didn't really, you know, you were poor defensively when we needed you to not be. And when you went into midfield, obviously there was nothing there. But I just think down the right-hand side, there was a lot more. Like, I don't think Odegaard was amazing, but I think he stood up yesterday, obviously got an assist. I think Saka, like with Martinelli, it weren't really good enough in the final third, but he was about. And I think Benjamin White with his interceptions and how he, obviously, you know, Salah's the main one in it. It's always going to be difficult for Zinchenko, but people are saying our fullbacks. I think Benjamin White could leave that game, did his thing. I agree with Rice, pass sideways too much, bro. He needs to do more forward passes. Obviously, I'm a big fan of retaining possession, but just for me, for Declan to go to that next level, this is what I meant when I said a few weeks ago. Get some little tips and stuff from Jorginho. Just this, even Partey, just them little things there. And again, I've said it. I don't think we're going to see that. Declan Rice has been great. But in terms of the, you know, his passing and, you know, speaking about Declan Rice more in the final third, although he's got 3 goals in the Prem and a couple of assists, I don't think we're going to see that Declan Rice until he's had a year under Mikel Arteta, until we really address the midfield and bring in depth. Because Declan Rice having to do everything. Like, I'm not looking forward to West Ham, really. I want revenge, but who is going to play? Kai Havertz ain't there. You know, do you drop Odegaard in the 8 and play Smith Rowe? Obviously, you're a bit lightweight there. The easiest thing to do, depending on if he's fit, because he's been a bit touch and go, would be Jorginho. I like how Havertz has been playing recently, but yesterday all the responsibility was on Rice and Odegaard to progress the ball due to Havertz's inability to do so. It was like playing with 2 midfielders. I don't think Kai is amazing at that, but I do think he puts himself about in the defensive shift. And a game like Liverpool is that even Jesus and Havertz did nothing in the final third, but I think they played well because they mucked in. If you understand what we see what they did yesterday, in terms of helping us see through. So I think he done that. But you're right, you do want to see a bit more from Kai Havertz. At the same time, though, I'm sure Kai Havertz was the one that was fouled and Odegaard's put the ball in for Gabriel, which if you go and check my watch along, I told you Gabriel scoring, man. We need a good replacement for Saka. He's too comfy in his spot. DG harsh, man. Declan just needs to unlock that Partey switch to Saka. He's not comfortable doing it yet. I hope these Zubimendi rumours are true. That guy ticks all the right boxes. Amen. Rice used to do long ball switching to play for West Ham all the time. Don't really see it at Arsenal yet. Could be because of a different system. I mean, he does play that diag pass, but the way West Ham play or the way a 6 needs to operate at Arsenal is very different from West Ham, with the greatest of respect. Of course, the role stays the same and there's certain things you still need to do, but we're on the front foot a lot more. We're trying to be a lot more braver. Our line is a lot higher. So it's a bit of a different one, if I'm honest with you. But as I said, I still think Declan Rice is mustard. He's developing well, but yeah, Saka was poor yesterday, to be honest. Maybe he's tired already. So maybe he just had a bad game. Is it time for Martinelli to make the transition to a striker? Starting to think he's not suited to be a winger. I don't think he's ready yet. You know, you need to start playing with your head up, if I'm completely honest with you. And he'd have to really learn how to play with his back to goal, if I'm honest. Do you think Martinelli could do the left back role? Who who helps him more, kind of like how White helps Saka. I mean, in theory, yeah, but I don't really want to see that, if I'm completely honest. Next game, who would you play in midfield? Because King Kai suspended, I'd go with Smith Rowe. The heart is saying Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Declan Rice. When I think of West Ham, obviously Mohamed Kudus, he's a winger. He's going to drive up the pitch and win fouls. We need someone that can kind of shut up shop, which isn't Jorginho. I think probably Jorginho's the one that gets in. That would probably be me using my brain. Jorginho, Declan Rice, and Odegaard. I would love to see Smith Rowe get a start, though, and Odegaard and Rice, but we kind of have to make a commitment to play in one way if that is going to be the case, because really and truly, only Declan Rice is the only one that realistically is going to muck in there and offer much in that regards, people. Big up you lot. Keep your opinions and whatnot coming, but let's carry on this, people. Again, we have one of the best centre-half partnerships in world football. Let's be serious, people. You know, big up Saliba and Gabriel. And to be fair, if you can come out of a City game, if you can come out of a Liverpool game, and you can hold your head high as a defender, which big up Zinchenko, but you can't. We're doing all right, man. Two very good players. Love to have you lot. I can't lie, people. Whose heart dropped when it was this? Declan Rice versus the world, mate. On another day that goes in, but as I said, Timber's prayers are working. Gabriel has now scored 11 Premier League goals since his debut in September 2020. No defender has scored more in that time, and what a time to get it. And I think Gary Neville, who I'm definitely never going to praise Gary Neville, but I think he's bang on the money. Arsenal in this opening 12 minutes, they've not played a backwards pass or sideways pass. Everything has been forward. So I'd love to see what Mikel Arteta truly thought about that game, not necessarily to the media and things, because I think he would want that. I need a Smith Rowe resurgence. His best performances have been on left wing, but he hasn't played there for a while. Chelsea pack not hitting anymore. It's boring, man. Chelsea losing every week. You know, I'm going to annoy my Chelsea supporting friends, just like I've been trolling Manchester United supporters. But yeah, man. No, striker would be even worse, like Son or Mane. They switched to strikers in the late 20s. I see the same for Martinelli. Martinelli and Saka's decision-making in the final third of the season hasn't been as good as last season for me. I hear it. Unpopular opinion, but I think Martinelli is very replaceable in this team. His head down dribbling, decision-making hinders our attack. He's a one-season wonder. I definitely disagree. Big Martinelli. Big up Martinelli, man. Ronaldinho rates him. Why do you think they're so bad? You know, when things can go bad in life, it normally does. In Chelsea, they're in a transitional period. They've got too many players. They've had injuries. It don't really look like there's a philosophy. And it doesn't look like there's any real togetherness in that camp. Thoughts on the wet pitch? You think it impacted us as much as people think? Right, bro, you lot saw yourself the amount of players that were losing their footing. And if Liverpool really did do what's claimed, then can you really blame them? But I'm not being funny. Before you watch a game of football, you know, did these players not? You see them walking around the pitch and all of this sort of stuff. They obviously have to warm up on the pitch. Again, maybe I'm thinking a bit too simple here, but just put on your studs. Just put on your studs. But yeah, if they did that, it is what it is. Yeah, they got too many of them kind of youths as well, man. Same with Chelsea. Arteta spoke. He said it was an unbelievable game of football, one of the most intense and hectic games that I've witnessed in 20 years in this league. The quality, the intention of both teams, it was superb to watch it. We, as a team with the boys willing to play at that level, to have the courage to play at that level, the determination and belief to do what we've done here, I think my players deserve big credit. I hear that. Smash the like button. Martinelli was poor, man, but he's still my guy. On working on set pieces, it was a great action, and we sensed an opportunity against every opponent, and we do that, and we score from there. We should have done better from many situations we had in the final third in open play, because we generated a lot, and that is a little bit of a regret. I agree. At the other end, it is true that they had some moments, especially the one after our corner when they went through and we had a miscommunication on the edge. It's a big quality of the team. We were lucky, not to concede a goal. He bigged up the Bermuda Triangle of William Saliba, Gabriel, and Declan Rice. Those three were phenomenal, but I think the whole team as well, and how we step up to the level that we put today, is one of the best Liverpools I've seen this year. They made life really difficult. The game became really chaotic. The crowd provokes that as well, but we handled the situation very well. On the differences between this year and last year, there are a few players missing last year, big ones for us, who are really important, especially when you have to play this type of game, Saliba. But to be honest with you, I know we had a weaker squad at Anfield last year, but we should have won the game, really. To play this type of game, but they propose, and you cannot get away from that type of game because they are really good at doing that. But then in the last 20 minutes, I think that the team was very willing to win it. The last 10 minutes, I felt a lot comfortable, and it's like, why can't we play like this more consistently throughout 90 minutes? We have the experience of being where we are today. We should be really happy, because that shows a lot of consistency for this new group in the best league in the world to be there 2 years in a row. But that's it. We are where we want to be right now, both in the Prem and Champions League, and we all deserve a beautiful dinner tomorrow with our families. But the next day, we are back on it because West Ham is going to be a very, very tough game again. On comparing Anfield to a washing machine, yes, we gave so many balls away after regaining it, and that is the worst moment against them because they're really good on the counter press moment, and we lost in areas as well that is prohibited against them to do it. I can't lie, Mikel Arteta is echoing everything I say. Big up you, Gaffer. We could have been punished, but we generated a lot of washing machine moments for them that they didn't like. On us being emotionally stable, they certainly got more experience, and it was a very different game to last year. What they did today in this stadium, in this atmosphere that they created as well, was something else. The maturity and the courage that we showed, I think we should be really proud of our boys. Finally, Arteta said there's some things we have to improve, especially killing games with the amount of dominance that we are showing. Sometimes the results have been too close, where we've had to dig in the last few minutes to maintain results, and that's it. Nothing else. Facts, Gaffer. Hopefully, we have sustained that level with 5 key players out because we lost 5 very, very important players for us many, many months. And the team has still shown that that is something we really have to maintain, which is the quality in the squad and how they're willing to do that every day. Edu, let's get the transfers going, man. Gabriel, Big Gabby said we worked very hard. I think he's right. He said, and big up Saka because he also spoke and was very disappointed about the game. Big Gabriel said it was a really intense game. It's so hard to play here against a big team. Of course, we wanted 3 points. We came back with a point, but the team played very well. And yes, we need to relax now and come back stronger. I'm so happy to get my first goal of the season and help the team and thank the fans for their support for this. We're strong at the back, but they have quality as well. But everybody worked so hard today. Fair enough, man. Saliba actually said it was a yellow card. I mean, not a yellow card. It was a penalty, people. He admitted he thought it was. He said, yes, of course. It was a penalty, but I'm not the ref. They have to accept it. Amen. When it works for us, who cares? Really and truly. Oh, of course, Gary Neville's going to be biased, mate. Oh, no, Gary Neville. I think we should just stick to the rules, mate. You know, big up Jurgen Klopp. I've got no beef with Jurgen Klopp, but it's very funny, you know, criticizing managers for being outside their technical area. Is only for certain people. Tab police, allow me, man. Allow me. It's closing, man. Osimhen has also signed a new contract at Napoli until 2026, people. Apparently, there is a release clause in his deal, but yeah, it's been formally confirmed that he has signed a new deal at Napoli until 2026. Apparently, people, the 24-year-old was originally contracted until 2025. Sky Sports in Italy report that the deal has been extended with a release clause reported to be in the region of 120 to 130 million euros, which obviously translates to 104 to 113 million quid, people. So we'll have to see. Apparently Chelsea were looking at Osimhen, but a summer transfer was more likely than a January move. I mean, we all knew Osimhen, whether he's going to Arsenal, Chelsea, wherever, was not going to be departing Italian shores in January. So we'll have to see exactly what that is being said. Arsenal tipped to accept 40 million offer for West Ham target as reason for preferring summer sell emerges. Eddie Nketiah could be sold by Arsenal in the summer transfer window rather than January, a report has hinted, after becoming a target for West Ham again. I'm all for that. Apparently, you know, in the region of 40 million quid, I'm all for that. But in the summer, we need to keep you. We need a squad. Whether you rate Eddie Nketiah or not, we don't have enough squad depth. And, you know, obviously 6 goals from 24 appearances isn't anything to write home about. West Ham, Brentford and Crystal Palace have all been credited with an interest, allegedly. Obviously, they'll probably be fueled. Rumours will probably be fueled with Ivan Toney to Brentford, maybe him being used in a make way. Dominic Solanke got a hat-trick yesterday, and he's in my FPL team. 1 minute, rumours are saying he's signing for Arsenal. Other rumours dismiss that kind of thing, people. But apparently, according to Dean Jones, Arsenal could pull off this shock signing in January, people. Allegedly. Has he said anything actually in quotes? It would be a shock signing, but I don't think it would be a particularly bad one. I think that having your eye on Solanke as a solution, I don't know about solution, as an option in the 9 role isn't actually a bad idea. But I'm extremely surprised because it's not one that I've heard mentioned before now. And there doesn't seem to be too many people chasing it up as something that's hot and could actually take off. It might be that Arsenal are going to have to get smart here because it kind of depends what kind of level of spending Solanke would be considered at. That's crazy. Crystal Palace, once again, have been linked with Eddie Nketiah. Apparently, people, Crystal Palace's head of sports medicine, Zafra Iqbal, forgive me for mispronunciation, he is joining Arsenal, people, to, you know, be part of our medical department. He's been at Leyton Orient, Tottenham Hotspur, and obviously Liverpool and Crystal Palace. So welcome to the club, man. We're making quite the backroom additions, in it. We've got a new scout from Real Madrid. We've got you. Come do your thing, man. That's what we want to see. Allegedly, Arsenal turned to Pablo Maia as Douglas Luiz's alternative. I don't know him religiously, but this 21-year-old looks quite decent in that midfield role, people. Apparently, Arsenal scout Paulo Javier's first job was to monitor Mahal after being assigned a mission by Edu. Fair enough. And apparently them two have worked together as well. Maybe that's the rumor. Maybe he was following him already. Arsenal have been monitoring Pablo for some weeks with reports of their interest first emerging in November. They're now getting ready to act on that as moves for other alternatives are proving difficult. We have been linked with Douglas Luiz and Paulinho. You all know we're going to get, priced out of moves like that, and rightly so. He has been described as a deep-lying playmaker who is one of the stronger midfielders in Brazil's Serie A during the 2023 season. Apparently, he's impressive in terms of his ball retention, finishing, while his positioning is another aspect of his game that is a particular strength. He was, however, weaker defensively, notably scoring poorly in terms of his recoveries and pressing. Not really the kind of midfielder we need. Solanke's improved massively, but what's the point of getting a striker that's not a clear upgrade on Jesus? That's my thing. If he's coming to replace Eddie, I hear that. Osimhen is scary, not going to lie. I just seen Arnautovic and Mkhitaryan link up for a goal. They are both 40 years of age. Serie A's not serious. I hear that, man. Big up my guy, American Gooner. Appreciate you. It was a good point. It was. I'm not always an Arteta fan, but two things. He set that team up well, and it was a superb game. Listen, there's a lot of... I think, listen... I think it's now getting to that scenario of Mikel Arteta. Are you going to be the man to get us a Prem or a Champs? I think in relation to the rebuild, and I wouldn't say we're the envy of the league, but people hate the fact that we're kind of lit. We've got good players now. We've got good philosophies. We're doing things really. But I'm a fan of Mikel Arteta. And one thing I have liked, we are a lot more competitive. We have got a lot more spirit. And I think, obviously, teams can do better than us. But I think we're getting into that scenario now where we're making a lot of good teams isolated to the 90 minutes look average, but I still think, we shoot ourselves in the foot. And I think the players in Arteta have got to arrest that. We probably shot ourselves in the foot in the Liverpool game with how, not doing how we started. And we've definitely done that against Chelsea and Spurs, etc. And I think they're the levels we need to go up. But I do think Mikel Arteta from the jump, there was times we would be playing City or even United when Arteta first walked in and we'd lose the game, but you could see kind of the angles he was trying to deploy in terms of tactically, and whether it was personnel or players making mistakes, there it was. So yeah, man, that's what I would say. But I only think we've been outplayed, regardless of whether we've won, lost, or drawn. I think the only time we've been outplayed has been West Ham in the league. I don't think Newcastle outplayed us. It was an even game. We didn't win the game. Aston Villa were at our mercy. Now, I don't get twisted. In them two games, I would love to swap with them. They got the 3 points. If I'm a Villa fan or whatever, I was like, yeah, you keep saying that. We've got 3 points. So that is something we need to do. We need to start getting into. He did recently sign a new deal, fueling the summer rumours. Ivan Toney has suggested on social media he'll be joining Arsenal next. When's he done that? I mean, are they talking about, obviously, him liking his own comments? We all know he's done something on a podcast where he said, from young, I've liked Arsenal. I've always liked watching Arsenal. I like how they play and kind of how passionate they are. And we know there's rumours that won't go away, but it doesn't seem like there's anything concrete. Eddie Nketiah will not be sold despite increasing interest in the Arsenal hitman from other Prem teams. I love Eddie, but hitman, I don't know about that. Smash the like button if you haven't. I don't think it makes sense to sell Eddie in January. Of course, 40 million, there's a lot to think about. But if you're not bringing in a striker, if Jesus gets injured, yes, Havertz can go up there, Martinelli can play up there, but we've already got injuries, If Declan Rice, God forbid, if there's an injury at centre-half, Declan Rice might have to play centre-back. Who the hell plays in the middle? Kai Havertz has finally found his feet in that 8 row. If he goes up front, who the hell is in the middle? I don't really want to be messing things up. Arsenal could seal 52 million Declan Rice partner transfer before Bayern Munich on one condition. Oh, here we go. Clickbait with Zubimendi. I would love the guy, people. Arsenal have been tracking a potential move for Zubimendi ahead of the January transfer window. Football.London understands. The Spaniard is claimed to have a release clause worth roughly 52 million, which can be triggered in the window. There is one condition, though, which is the player must agree to the move, of course. But, I mean, the man's clearly he's got an affiliation to Sociedad. They're in the Champions League mid-season. It's not cowardly, but I don't think he would want to leave mid-season. Aggressively last year linked with Arsenal and Barcelona and Man United. And for all that talk, he stayed put in the summer. Was the interest overstated? Did these clubs have other priorities? Did he make it clear, I want to stay for one more season? My team's in the Champions League. I don't know, people. But he did say early this year, rumours, because I told my manager I didn't want to hear anything, especially in the winter. Leaving Real Sociedad aside with the season we're having would be illogical. I'm very happy here. There you have it. Apparently, he said in another interview, I've never planned to leave Sociedad. I always say I love life here at home. I'm so happy here. The values of this club are the same as mine, so I feel very good. I always say I'm happy. I mean, Mikel Arteta, he's Spanish like you. He's from that same region of Spain like you. Let's get on the offensive. We'll do that, American Gunner, 100%, man. The next striker we buy will be a very important decision and will make or break our next 2 seasons. I think what will make or break our seasons on top of that is just bringing in depth, man. We need to pattern up. Like, we need to really be overstocked. And I think we need stronger 1v1 options. Like, if we had an Ake, you know, instead of Zinchenko yesterday, or if Timber was there, these guys can make mistakes, but I do think we're there. I personally think I like Zinchenko. I think you should always, you know, there'll be games for you to play inverted, there'll be games play you in midfield. But especially if we get better in the final third, like if Declan Rice is doing that 6 stuff and learning that 8 stuff, if you've got that 8, if you've got Odegaard, if you've got everybody clicking, yes, Zinchenko going into midfield is like having your cake and eating it. But there's less of a demand for that, the better we get. And then that means the pros and cons of Zinchenko in that, you know, he's terrible defensively, but if he runs into the middle, he might give you something. You're not really willing to, you don't really need to hedge your bets like that, in my opinion. But I like Zinchenko, and I don't want him to become a scapegoat, but we've seen it before. We'll see it again, man. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Anyways, apparently Fulham want 50+ million for Paulinho, as he's still linked with Arsenal and Liverpool. They're demanding 50 to 60 million. Now, that's not the braziest of things. At 28, you could play for a number of years. But how much is he highly regarded at Arsenal? In fact, do they like him, but do they love him? To the point where they might think, forget 50 million. And if you're going to spend 50 to 60 million on a 28-year-old, we go win a couple Prem titles. I don't think anybody cares. But you look at some of the targets, that 50-odd million plus a bit more, that might get you a Luiz or someone that's got a bit more longevity and ties in with what we're doing, essentially. Bayern Munich came close to signing him, and then rumours there won't go away. Apparently, Arsenal are also keen, on a potential move for Fulham star Paulinho in 2024, but Aston Villa's Douglas Luiz remains the #1 target, allegedly, people. And this article, we know West Ham apparently want Nketiah. I don't know why we've got so many tabs of that, but apparently Douglas Luiz's head's been turned by Manchester City and Arsenal interest. Couldn't begrudge him for wanting to re-sign for City and play over there. Obviously, Arsenal were doing all right, and we've tried to get you, and the Brazilians are here. I hope all 3 Gabriels, for that matter, when you've been on Brazil duty, they've been talking to you, and Guimaraes. We'll have to see, really. A well-placed source has told Football Insider that Luiz has had his head turned by interest in his services from England's elite clubs, including City, people. However, he is a key part of Villa's plans and is playing a lot ahead of a potential Copa America. Again, we all know a January swoop is a bit of a myth. He's got £100 million bounty on his head. That will probably drop, in my opinion, to 65, 70 odd in the summer. But then again, he'll have 2 years left to run on his deal when the season comes to a conclusion. So they can still renegotiate. They're still in a strong position, but, you know, it kind of weakens their case. You look at Osimhen's clearly just signed a new deal, so you can move clubs. Ivan Toney's got 18 months on his deal now, and then you've got Douglas Luiz. It'd be interesting to see exactly what happens there. Why Arsenal have pulled the plug on their pursuit of Victor Osimhen has been revealed, with Chelsea now the front runners. Arsenal and Chelsea have drawn the most frequent links, with both sides looking in need of a more reliable scores of goals to lead their lines. Okay. Apparently, Osimhen is understood to be on both clubs' radar, but according to Football Transfers, Arsenal's interest has cooled. Explaining it why, the online outlet pointed to the new contract Osimhen has only just signed. I think that means, in terms of if there was any hope of getting you in January, I don't think we're going to get you in the summer, but I think that tells you we might be able to get him. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a thing where you just got to pay the price tag. You pay the price tag, you get the player. If not, it's peak, really and truly. Apparently, we've been linked with Sporting Lisbon. Inacio, once again, the left-sided centre-back, apologies. Ivan Toney talks won't go away. Conor Gallagher, I wouldn't be against it if he's available, if I'm completely honest. He could be a good squad player and he wouldn't have to leave London. Is there anything else Arsenal-related? You know, it'd be nice to see some new names as well. Benjamin White has praised people. What's this? What you said there, Benjamin? Obviously, the Nketiah rumours won't go away. What have you said here? He's praised the 2 centre-halves. Big him up, man. They are unbelievable together. They're so strong and powerful. They make it easier for everyone around them. But you used to be part of the centre-back pairing, but you do better at right-back. And I think a lot of us have thought that for a while. They just don't do too much wrong, do they? They are so consistent every game. I don't think Gabriel gets his credit. It's ridiculous to see typically Saka, Saliba, and Benjamin. No, Saka, Declan Rice, and Saliba play very well. But I don't think, and I think they're the 3 standouts. But I think Big Gabriel does not, for a while, he doesn't get the respect internally from Arsenal fans that he deserves. Hasn't got his own chant. I think, you know, don't get twisted, myself included. When Saliba does great, we're ready to gas it up. I don't feel Gabriel gets his flowers, really. I think I wouldn't say underrated, because everyone can have an appreciation of him individually, what he does, obviously how he plays with Saliba, but underrated, sorry. But I'd say underappreciated 100%. No one is dominating them speed-wise or strength-wise. It's hard for strikers to come up against, and they find anything positive to come out of the game. So yeah, I think when you come here, it's so tough, and to come away with a point is probably a positive. That's what we've got now. We are such a positive team. We want to come here and win. I think you see that from our performance. I hear it, man. I hear it. So it'd be interesting to see. Zubimendi would be a summer move for sure. They're in the Champions League and probably won't qualify next season with Girona in the title race. I hear that. A striker, a midfielder, and a defender is a must to push for a title. I can't lie. I agree, but I've given. There was a point with us Arsenal fans where we sat there and said, you know what? On the agenda in January, it's a striker. Couple of injuries, we turned our attentions to midfield. Now we've probably turned our attentions defensively. I actually think Mikel Arteta, if he could, I think he wants a defender more than a centre mid. But I think them two are striker as well. They're all of equal priority. In an ideal world, you do them all. But I think it's all about the spine. Like, I'm 28, used to play Sunday League football. You always talk about the spine of your team. Obviously, goals win games, but the spine, like even now, you know, bare man are injured. People are coming back from injuries. Kai Havertz has been suspended. We're down to the bare minimum of bones, really, to rock up and play West Ham. And to be fair, West Ham have a dynamic team. They're quick on the transition. We know what Kudus can do. We know what Bowen can do. We know Souček or whoever, Ward-Prowse, there's a lot of dynamism in the midfield. So it'll be interesting. I don't think the options are well enough. You know, I do think we're okay in the final third to a point. As I said, I would love a winger. I think everybody wants a striker. But it keeps me up at night, like the lack of centre mid options. And I like our defense. I don't think it's panicky, but like I can't help but think, whether you rate him or not, if anything happens to Zinchenko, more so Saliba, Benjamin White, Gabriel, we're in trouble, man. Big Gabby carries that liability, Zinchenko. And you know what? I will never forget, speaking of Zinchenko, the West Ham game, because if you remember the first goal West Ham scored, it was from a corner, right? In the build-up to that, Gabriel was out. I think Gabriel's conceded the corner. He's bailed Zinchenko out in that moment. He's absolutely bollocking him because he's not switched on. And I think Arteta, naturally Zinchenko's going to have to be a squad player. We're not going to get out of the hood with him playing like this. I like Zinchenko a lot, but this is the reality. It's a squad player thing. Shout out yourself, Lobo, as well, for resubscribing with Twitch. Appreciate you lot tuned in on Twitch as well. So yeah, man. I just think with the thing I would say with Zinchenko is I'm not blaming you, but I've come to accept your mistakes. The only issue is what else are you doing? Because if you was bossing that midfield and we're waffling to the same way we waffle about some players, then it's fair enough, really. But Zinchenko's lunch meat there. There's a small worry that when it's the business end of the season, the goals may dry up. But to be fair, our attack hasn't clicked into gear for longer than 3 consecutive games. 100%. I mean, that's the issue with Arsenal. Like, we've got goals spread out throughout the team. But when our backs are against the wall and the romance from football is removed, people, who is going to get that goal? I would bet on Saka. Jesus will score like 5 goals a season, but there'll be some decisive ones. But I wouldn't bet on him. Martinelli and Odegaard ain't found their shooting boots that they had last year. So I 100% agree, really and truly. When you look in terms of the transition and what we've been doing since Mikel Arteta signed, we're on a good path. Goals are being spread out. In theory, we get in a world where there's goals all around the field. But if I remove that Arsenal lens and look at it on just of how we win a league title, we need more answers than questions. We don't have that striker that's going to get 20, 30 goals regardless and can turn some draws into victories. So some defeats into draws, some draws into victories and things like that. Defensively, one more man goes down, we're in trouble. Midfield, anything happens to Declan Rice, either injured or has to go centre half, we're in trouble. And again, Declan Rice, as much as his form's amazing, him, Saliba and Saka, as I said, you have to give the man, grace in that he's Superman, but he's not. He's going to have bad games and make mistakes. To be fair, even when Declan Rice has been a bit quiet, he's been head and shoulders above everything else. I think we'll wait until the summer and spend a large chunk of our budget on a forward. We need to sign at least 2 players, a midfielder, a defender who can cover fullback and centre back. Graham, bang on the money. Ideally, as I said, because we've spoken about this a lot. For me, if you could, easier said than done. Don't have any names, but if you could get someone that's like Timber and Tomiyasu that can fill across, great. If you have to get one, then it is what it is. I don't know if Mikel Arteta, if you said you can get either a left back, a right back, or a centre back, which one would you go for? Hopefully, Partey and Tomiyasu return from their respective competitions fully fit and give us the majority of games in the second half of the season. Graham, I hear you, and I'm not being pessimistic. If there's one thing about Partey, it's injuries. If there's one thing about Tomiyasu, it's injuries. And you're right. We hope they're back, but we've seen this movie before, really. It's not that we won't feel their absence. I kind of don't want to have to talk about them. We've missed Partey. We want to see Rice and Partey. We want to see Partey as an option. And even times where we could have rested Declan Rice. But because Declan Rice has been brought into the team, we're not. It's not that we ain't missed Partey, but we've got someone that's on doing that physical stuff. I think we need to do that as well because realistically, you can't bet on Tomiyasu and Partey staying fit for the majority of the season. I'm being very unfair to Partey because he was fit for about 40 games last season, played 33 times in the league, but that was an anomaly, isn't it? Really, so. It's a peak situation to be in, and we're gonna have to tread carefully. Hopefully, January is kind to us. Obviously, man, we're again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's in advance. But we're bordering on into January now. You'd imagine the rumors and stuff that we're gonna sit here and do many a live stream, be linked with many a player. Hopefully, we sign someone in it, people. I don't know though, man. So be interesting. I'm open to Dunk. I can't lie. He's got good leadership qualities, plus our good relationship with Brighton that could give us a good deal. It's true, but then again, you look at Brighton, he's a key player for them. If you're Brighton, you're saying, if you want him, we know you lot got bread. We know you lot want him. If you want him, pay the money. But I would like Dunk. He's very, he's not a sexy, or he doesn't appear a sexy footballer. He's got good passing range. He's a Spartan, as we saw when we played Brighton. Gives us a lot of height. He's a good option. And obviously, respectfully to Brighton, if Arsenal come knocking, like there's levels. Same way one day, Declan Rice, Saka, Martinelli, Saliba, the Real Madrids of this world might start flirting with you. It's levels. These things happen, really. I think you're bang on the money there. I'd be open to Dunk. Premier League proven as well helps us with the homegrown. I think Dunk would do it. I'm not sure where he is in terms of the England setup and things like that, but you probably have to play on a regular basis. And that is one thing you're going to get at Brighton. You're not going to play too many games from the start for Arsenal. But, you only got one career in it. Summer signing, dream signing, that Carver guy from Napoli, love him. But if there's anyone from Napoli, I need Osimhen, man. Dream summer for me. I wake up, I see Zubimendi and Osimhen are here. You go and get me that Lenny Yoro guy from over there in France. Arteta has the chance to do a William Saliba V2, if I'm completely honest with you. I ain't seeing Dunk in our backline, I can't lie. He'd be a good squad player. And I mean, obviously he plays it differently, but you're couple levels above Kirio, really. You're way better than Kirio. I'm not even trying to dish you. So you'd be that, if I'm honest. Like, if you can't raise the level, just make sure there's a certain height on the floor. If we bring in a centre mid and or Partey gets fit, would we be better off moving Jesus to left wing and have us up front with the front line not firing? We could be better off maximizing our control in games. I think there'll be some games and situations for Kai up front, but I don't think that's where Kai's thing is. Yours is the left-sided 8 role, really and truly. As for Jesus, obviously one luxury, if we sign a striker, I would want a winger as well. But Arteta might sit there and say, you know what, Jesus, you could play and you can play across the front three, really. You can play as a wide man. We'll do that if required, really. But I'm not really for Kai Havertz up front. If the game demands it and stuff like that, like we've seen in a couple of games this season, yeah, I'm just saying I don't expect to wake up and he's the next Van Persie or Berbatov. Lock down this left 8 role, please, because in this period, this has been the happiest. I still want a midfielder, but this has been the happiest I've felt about Arsenal's midfield, despite the injuries and stuff. Declan Rice, amazing. Odegaard does his thing. Kai Havertz, you have, the sun shining after a rainy start in your early Arsenal career. So long may it continue. Now, if we can just get another 8 and another 6, we got that. We're fair enough sorted. Keep a little spot for, Miles and Charlie to naturally, when they're ready to come into the first team. Even if you get Douglas Luiz, you can play as an 8 and a 6. Like, as much as I want 2 midfielders, I think you can get away with 1. I don't know I think there's a reality where El Nene, Jorginho, and Partey could all go, but I think you need to hold on to one of them. And if I had to say, I think it'd be Jorginho, just because he appears to be like a lieutenant of Mikel Arteta's. El Nene could get a new contract. He's clearly loved here, but realistically, we're not a charity case. And I like El Nene, but we're not here for this. We're not here to make friends. We're here to win things. So you need to move on. Partey is probably going to be moved on, but you never know with Jorginho. If you get a pay, if Arsenal were to win a major trophy this season, based on all the stuff you've won already, and you get an offer from Saudi Arabia, obviously you get an offer from your homeland of Brazil or your adopted homeland of Italy, you've got a decision to make. And obviously he's got an option on his contract as well. So that has to have been done. The length on his contract when he signed for Arsenal had to have considered that in mind. Warren Zaire would be lovely, but, PSG would have to be smoking some very, very strong ganja to be letting him go, if I'm honest with you. I can't lie. If we signed Dunk, we'd be absolute football terrorists. 1 goal, then sub in 3 at the back, no one will score. Bro, Dunk would be cash money at set pieces. And mainly why I'm having Dunk is the leadership qualities. I do think we need a squad of them, couple of those players that aren't sexy on paper. Even though, if I can remember correctly, I'm sure Lewis Dunk's got a mean free kick on him. How old is he, though? Because that's why it's a myth. Look, type in Lewis Dunk. It's showing me Nike trainers. 32. I'm not gonna lie, I thought he's a bit younger. You could, depending on the fee, you could get away with that. And at 32, he's gonna want it, like, careers, you know, as a career, is short. I must say, looking at on his Wikipedia, though, he's a Brighton lad. You know, that's where he was born. You know, he's come through their academy and whatnot and been part of the furniture and progressed all the way to play for England. And yeah, like, he grew up a Chelsea fan. I mean, so did Declan Rice, allegedly, but he grew up a Chelsea fan. Apparently, he idolized John Terry. Absolute shit human being, fantastic centre half. So fair enough, John Terry. And he named his dog Didier. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Does anyone see Dunk in starting FPL teams? Brighton, yeah, no, I think Dunk would be for the squad, Gunner. I think he'd be for the squad. He wouldn't be my first option, but if I woke up and we signed Dunk for a couple seasons, I'm not crying, really. It won't happen, though, because if you're Dunk, you want a good wage at 32 if you're moving to Arsenal. You probably have concerns about your playing time. And if I'm 32, Arsenal are probably going to do maybe a 2-year deal with an option of another one, maybe a 1-year deal with an option of a further year. If I'm him, realistically, you want a 3-year contract outright. And that takes you to 35 for Arsenal. It probably don't make much sense. And there's probably not much longevity, man. Dunk being sick only took time for people to realize. I didn't know he had ball playing to his game, though. But you can't play under Graham Potter, now under De Zerbi. If you're not good with your feet, you shouldn't be a footballer, let alone play for Bayern. For sure, Osimhen, Zubimendi, Diamande would be ideal. Then once we clear out, we can bring in that 38. I'm with that, you know, Diamande as well. You know what? I'd add Douglas Luiz to the mix. You know, that would probably mean Nketiah, Smith Rowe, Aaron Ramsdale, Tierney permanently. My soldiers, but all good things come to an end, man. He would be a dream, man. But yeah, I don't see Dunk leaving, really. Like, you've got everything wrong. Everything you want at Brighton, really and truly. Like, that's your thing, innit? Like, your boyhood club, you're playing, you love. It is where it is, man. I'm sure your family is settled, even though Brighton isn't that far from London as well. So it would be ideal. I'd take Tarkowski over Dunk if English is on quota. I'm not going to lie. I think I like Tarkowski's commitment to defending, but I think Dunk's a way better player, man. I want Fofana at the carpet. He looks as if he's going to become a mainstay with the French national team. He's not got long left on his contract. It wouldn't cost a lot. Bring him. Them rumors have kind of gone cold. Bring him as well. The Monaco lad. They've kind of gone cold, though, really. So I'm not too sure. It looks like he might just stay put until the summer, really. Or he might even one day want to run down his deal, because obviously that's something you're seeing in the modern day is a new theme, really. So we'll have to see. But with that, though, people, I know with it being the festive period, I don't want to sit here and bore you lot with Arsenal. We've got a point. Christmas hasn't been spoiled. Make sure you smash the like button, you subscribe, turn on your notification bells, because there'll be content. Appreciative to you lot across Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and all that good stuff. Your talking points, your differences of opinions, your engagement. Big up the silent listeners out there. As we approach the end of the year, your support throughout the year has been appreciated, man. So yeah, you lot hit the like button, comment, like, subscribe, enjoy your holidays, and we'll link up again soon, man. Obviously, we will be doing a watch along for West Ham on Thursday. I'll go live an hour before kickoff. You lot stay safe, stay blessed. It is what it is. You know, I know a left back who stands up to be counted. If Mikel Arteta wants to sign him, it's only going to cost, you know, I do it on the cheap, 70 grand a week plus a £2 million signing on fee. I'm 28. I wouldn't have much years left in the professional game.
Against this right back, Charlie.
There's always just that active and defending. I think it's like